Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Look us up on Roku. We're in the sports section, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. On iTunes, one word, Dwyer Boxing News. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. This video is really for the gamblers. People here online know that I'm a big fan of Kell Brook. I think the guy moves very well. I think he has some of the best legs in boxing. I think he has great hand speed. I think he has built-in leverage. He hits hard and he doesn't need a wind-up to deliver the punches. At his best, he's fluid. He can outmaneuver an opponent like a Matthew Hatton, make him look bad, be relatively unscathed, right? A Rafael Jankowicz, and he can dole out a disproportionate amount of punishment. I also like his calmness. He's a guy who's very calm under pressure, right? As I like to say, there are times where Kell Brook looks like he's doing his taxes in the ring. But make no mistake, he's delivering punishment. He's racking up points. Well, let me say this. Even though Kell Brook is unbeaten and at the pinnacle of his career, having just won a world championship from Shawn Porter, right? And even though I'm a fan of Kell Brook, right, who believes he's one of the best in his weight class, and that weight class is loaded with people like Shawn Porter, Floyd Mayweather, Keith Thurman, Amir Khan, and others, right? Just understand that Kell Brook could fight my next door neighbor in his next fight, and I wouldn't be taking him. I'd be on the sidelines. If you're a gambler, a 5-alarm fire has gone off. Right? Don't be fooled by the biases the system has. Right? The promoters have. The television channels have. In convincing you that Kell Brook, who's about to become a cash cow, is completely healthy. Right? No one in the system has a vested interest in telling you that a guy might not be himself. Now, news broke a few days ago of Kell Brook having been stabbed in the leg, right? But the details have been sketchy. We haven't heard a lot about it. And it's only in boxing that fans say, oh, he's stabbed. Well, he'll heal in time for his next fight. Right? If this were European football, right? A soccer player, as we would call them here in the United States, getting stabbed in the legs, an important part of his game, people would wonder whether that guy's career could continue. Right? You know, you would expect that guy to require some period of recuperation, then testing out the leg. Right? If Kell Brook were a running back here in the United States, let's say he's LaShawn McCoy, and if you were in a fantasy football pool, and then you heard that LaShawn McCoy got stabbed in the leg, you'd be concerned. You'd be looking for a backup. Right? We understand that athletics is the kind of endeavor where you could have an injury, be able to walk around on it, but that injury might flare up, might show itself later in the athletic contest. Right? I'm sure there's some of you who might have, let's say, a tricky back. You know, it's okay during the first few points of that basketball game against your son and his friends in the driveway. You're holding your own. But when that game gets physical, when you've been running around for, let's say, 15, 20 minutes, when you're jerking your body this way and that way as the sport requires, that back might give out. right? That great back in the first quarter might be the bulky back that has your son getting layups by you in the third quarter, right? You might not make it to 21, whatever the point total is on the game you're playing. Well, let me say this. Kell Brook has given an interview to BoxingScene.com. It's the first time that I'm getting real information about what happened when Kell Brook got stabbed and about the severity of the stabbing. Now, let's just say I was hoping to hear things like pocket knife, superficial wound, right? This looks worse than it is, right? This knife barely grazed me. You know, I just happened to be someplace and some weird thing happened next to me and I got nicked, right? The police are calling it a stabbing because a knife was involved and it touched my body. But really, apart from just cutting the skin, it didn't do anything else. Unfortunately, that's not the story. The story is different. It includes words you don't want to hear. Right? Kell Brook admits he was stabbed with a machete. Let's just say I didn't want to hear the word machete in relation to the story. Let's just say the knife that stabbed Kell Brook was a big knife. Right? So then you're thinking, okay, well, you know, hopefully this machete just scratched him. Hopefully I'll see words like surface wound, superficial. No, quite the opposite. The machete cuts through at least 2 of Kell Brook's muscles. Let's talk about the damage. You say, okay, the wound was deep, 2 muscle deep. So maybe there's no nerve damage whatsoever. Maybe I can bet on Kell Brook and believe in the structural integrity of his leg. Folks, you can't even do that. Think in terms of nerve damage as I read this quote from Kell Brook in discussing the attack. Here's the quote. Around the wound area, there is no feeling. The doctor said it might never come back. It is numb, like when you go to the dentist. But I believe in thinking positive and think I will make a full recovery. The knife went through 2 muscles, but the operation was a success, and blood is getting to those muscles. Folks, this sounds bad to me. This sounds especially bad when you realize we're talking about a boxer who hopes to get back into boxing, a sport where the other guy is trying to hurt you. As Ray Robinson once said, this is the hurt business. Right? You need to be 100%. Kell Brook is now a champion. The guys he's going to be fighting are going to be world-class contenders, if not other champions like Amir Khan. Right? He's experiencing numbness in his leg. You're hearing the dreaded S word, surgery. Right? Kell Brook is sounding relieved that blood is actually traveling to those muscles. And of course, it's 2 muscles. Right? I don't like this. I don't like it at all. Right? There is a question, given these injuries, on whether Kell Brook is still Kell Brook. Right? The doctor is telling him that the feeling in his leg might not come back? You gotta be kidding me. If you're a gambler, let me just say, on a scale of 1 to 5, this is a 5-alarm fire. Right? Whatever you think is going on. Just understand, for Kell Brook's next fight, if you were thinking about putting money on Kell Brook, keep your hand in your pocket. Right? Don't believe the hype. Believe your eyes. You need to see exactly how he looks. Understand, too, he's going to have to use his legs in boxing, right? Because rest assured, this is an interactive sport. His opponent is going to want to test him. His opponent's going to want to know whether the guy he's fighting is still Kell Brook. He's going to make it grueling for Kell Brook. Also, Kell Brook's skills are built around his physical gifts. Right? He spent his career using his legs. He can't change now. And if a guy doesn't have feeling in a leg and is still recuperating from a 2-muscle stab wound with a machete, what kind of sparring is Kell Brook going to do over the next few months? So this is a tragedy. In my opinion, there is a well-meaning conspiracy of silence. Right? The people around Kell Brook want to help Kell Brook continue his career. Want to make his career as financially successful as possible. So they're going to portray the injury as something that's not an impediment to his boxing career. Don't fall for that hype. This is a serious injury involving a deep wound caused by a machete that may have caused nerve damage and numbness. Right? So, as much as I like Kell Brook, I'll be on the sidelines for his next fight. I'm going to have to see Kell Brook be Kell Brook before I believe in Kell Brook again enough to bet on him. I encourage everyone to look at the news of this attack as it filters out. Right? We've gotten Kell Brook statements. If any photos come out, right? If any quotes from any doctors come out, if there's any description of the injury, I would encourage you to go online and Google that injury and what the prognosis was for other people who suffered it. Right? Because this is a professional sport. These athletes are going to test their bodies in these events. This is much more grueling than playing basketball in the driveway with your son. And we're talking about a guy who got stabbed with a machete. Let me just say, too, the other quotes from Kell Brook are really glaring. Here's another one. This guy was stood over me, shouting and swearing. I was trying to scramble away. I was thinking about my daughter, that I need to get away. I was covered in blood, panicking, feeling so drained and weak from the loss of blood. I feared for my life. That's what Kell Brook told Boxing Scene. If you're a gambler, proceed with caution. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for stopping by.